So thank you very much for the survey today. Here's a recording of what was discussed, and I spent some of the time just talking directly to the camera, so you won't have heard it all, but I develop my theories of what's causing the root cause of the dampness as I go along, so there can be some change towards the end, but have a listen.
I think I'll show you the site,
Yeah.
and then we'll come back inside to discuss it, because I don't particularly want everybody knowing my business thing. Bathroom, step down, do not fall down.
And this is suspended timber floor, is it on? It feels suspended.
I guess, maybe. There's now concrete under
That's
here.
concrete here, yeah.
So 2 years ago,
nice
I had a
to meet you.
refurb. It was very different. It was flagstones and all the rest of it. So one of the issues is, and they redid the water pipes which are up there, but there's no damp up there, so this is not the problem, I don't think. This is the boiler behind the dishwasher sink. So originally the kitchen was slightly oddly shaped. It was a completely different layout, the sink was here, blah, 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 blah. The back door, it went out into the spur here. So and be careful out here, my husband, last time we were here, he lifted up some boards just to check there wasn't a sea of water underneath, and we've left them loose for you.
Okay.
If you want to look under.
Okay, good.
So as you can see, this shape, so it's part of the building. Oh, yeah. So that was part of the kitchen, and this has now been squared off. I sent James pictures. Dealing with all my neuroses. So it's a bit. These are loose, so be careful. So that was part of the kitchen, and it was squared off to make this, which is a distinct space. So if we go back in, I'll talk you through the situation. And that is where I've noticed the damp. So the situation is that so this was all squared off to make the kitchen layout easier, and that is now complete. And the back door used to be where that door is, and it was all very fiddly and unsatisfactory. So this is a much better layout, much more user friendly. And in that space is where I've seen the damp, and I'm worried about it. But when it was part of the kitchen, it always was a bit musty in that corner down here. But I think because it was part of the kitchen, it was able to air out. So I'm hoping that you're just going to say, oh, you just need a couple of vents in the door, but let's see. And then I had the building work done, and sometime later noticed the damp. I think I sent Jane pictures. You saw quite severe staining.
I did, but I'm not seeing it now.
And the guy who helped us design and advise came back, and I said, I'm a bit worried about this. He said, oh yeah, there was never a proper damp course there, was there? News to me. So the builder came back and he made holes and injected the stuff in, which has ameliorated the problem. I think it's much better than it was, but there's still a little bit there. And and then somebody spooked me, a quantity surveyor. I said, oh, what do you think about this? He said, oh, it could be, you better check there's not water running underneath or something. Oh my God. And I am a bit of a neurotic. And eventually my husband thought, she's stressing out too much. Let's just get a proper person in. And I had somebody in to look at it who suggested some form of venting, but my husband thought, let's just have a proper person in to do a proper thing.
But without a stake in the outcome.
I mean, yes, all that. Yes, I've seen your advice on your website. Yeah, don't be fooled by builders.
People trying to sell you something.
Yeah, I mean, the builder that came back, he did it for free, and he did it. So the other issue, and this is what I particularly don't necessarily want the neighbours to know about, is that my husband and I, we also have a house in Ireland. We spend a lot of time there. Wexford County, Wexford, South East.
Oh, nice, yeah.
I don't know if you know.
My grandfather's was in Kilkenny.
Oh,
right. Not far away.
Oh, Kilkenny's a great town.
I've been to the festival, Wexford Festival.
Yeah, the opera festival.
Yeah.
It's specialising in obscure operas, I gather. I've been to the Lunchtime Recitals by Performance. I've never been to one of the operas. So we spend a lot of time there. So a lot of time we are not here. Yeah. So I have a friend, and friends occasionally when I'm not here. And I keep saying it's because I bought this flat and he bought the place in Wexford, but we're in it together. So I have friends who use it, and when they're here, if it's not raining, I say, can you just open the laundry door just to air it out a bit while you're here? But that's quite rare. So I think that's one of the problems, is that we're away so much.
When you're away, do you leave the heating on? Like, you know, at a...
I do in the winter. I set it to come on at a certain temperature, and I try and get, for the boiler as well, to get the boiler working maybe twice a day. And when we're here in the winter, we have the central heating on, but I haven't had it on at all.
Okay.
I got back on Saturday, so I haven't needed to have the heating on at all. Obviously, that's a cold room. I have noticed. I'll talk now.
So have you said all the things that you were going to say in the front room, or did you mean to say them here? I mean, there's no.
No, I know. I did mean to say them here.
There's more to say, is there?
I think that's it. Now, in regards to the placing, and Jane was very
about
neurosis. It was a kind of, oh God, because I was doing this firstly from Spain and then from Ireland, actually, on the phone to friends. Can you order these things? Can you, who have keys? Can you go in? Can you place these meters? Tags, and we haven't done. And then I had another friend came in last week to put one where I thought, oh, I could really do with one there. And then we got ourselves in a pit because he said, I'm looking at the instructions, it says QR code, and then he wasn't able to do it.
Okay, well, I'll show
and then
you
Jane,
that.
yes, so I mean, it would be fine for me to do the QR code, that's fine, but I haven't done anything since I thought I'd wait to see you. I'll show you where they are. I don't know if I asked my friend to put them up from memory. I said, on the counter, the kettle is normally there. I've been using it over here since Saturday, so I don't know if that's any good. I put one down there in case something was coming through here. She said she put one in all the wine glasses. Are you tall enough to...
In one of the wine glasses? I'll find it, I'm sure.
Or in this cupboard? It might be
maybe
towards there.
No. I'll find it, don't worry.
If you do. So there's one there. And there's 3 in the laundry cupboard.
Okay.
And they've been there for exactly 2 weeks.
Okay,
as
great.
instructed. And you can't do the technology, and neither can I. He put one in there.
Okay, so what
because
we're going
in
to
the
do...
winter, I tell you, final thing I'm going to say, because I suddenly thought in the winter sometimes these plates feel a bit clammy, but they're not now. So whether that's just a kind of cold air situation.
What we'll do is we'll letter them, and then I'm just going to check to see whether they're reading accurately, because there can be some difference, and then I'll get you to download them on your phone.
Yes.
And I'll show you how to upload them to me in the first instance, and then use them going forward. Okay. So I'll do that now.
Absolutely.
What I do is I go through a process. To some extent, it's a process of elimination. I will investigate the outside under the ground level.
Yes. There's a pipe down. There's a down pipe from I think both flats probably. I think might be from their loos. That one of them might be slightly leaking. We have checked that because we wondered if that pipe was not draining properly, but we think we can't see any evidence of water.
But what my initial belief is, suspicion, is that it's internal. The fact that you're away for long periods of time concerns me. And somebody that spends a lot of time in Ireland, you'll understand a lot of the issues that you get here. And I got a friend who's got a house in Kerry, and they go away. They only use it in the summertime, and they used to use storage heaters, and it was really expensive. And it came back, and there was a musty smell every time. And I got them to switch to turning off the storage heaters so they don't heat the place, but instead, and at a fraction of the cost, they use dehumidifiers, or one dehumidifier, and it solved all their problems, and it's got rid of the smell, and it's reduced the cost by about 70%.
When you say internal, do you mean within that cupboard, or that there's something else going on in the house?
Well, within, so, and look, this is just my initial, I haven't done an investigation yet.
Not the way it's all right. You're looking at the loo. That's not very dignified, is it? Come on.
But I'm just mentioning it to you because I'm getting to investigate, and the data loggers will really help.
Yes.
But this time of year, they won't tell us much as they will do in autumn, going through to winter. But they will still tell me a certain amount. Have you been away but they've been out for 2 weeks, so we'll look at them in the first instance, and I'll comment to them. Yeah. But I'm just going to say that they may or may not give a definitive picture, But going into autumn and winter, they'll give a much clearer idea.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to collect them together, and I'm going to just and I'm also going to investigate that wall there. Yeah.
Yes, and it just check. There's nothing sort of. My big fear, of course, is that there's something terribly fundamental going on, but I'm hoping that there isn't.
Well, so am I, and the fact that your cellar is dry.
I think it is. I mean, you'll be very highly attuned to these things, but we think it is. And it
cellars
has not been. If you know what I mean.
Cellars are designed.
It's messy, but it's dry.
But cellars are designed for percolating water from rainwater that comes through soil to evaporate out through the cellar and to then be vented away through the subfloor ventilation. The fact that you've reduced the subfloor ventilation to the back is a marginal.
The builder said he put vents through.
I know, but
so
they're never as good though.
Probably not.
It's a bit like, breathing through a snorkel. You get air, but it's not quite as good. And that's with. No, I'm not trying to concern you. I'm just saying the fact that you don't have major problems of water in the cellar tells me that you're unlikely to have a massive leak in the area. But I'll have a look.
Yes.
Looking above and just see.
Should I put the lights on?
That's fine. Okay, well, I'll have a good look there. We'll start with this. Number 1, 2, 3, and
hang on.
number
She might
4,
have put it. She might have put
5,
it rather illogically. Did she?
And
Is there one up there? No.
there's another 6. Number 6, we'll find it. So 1 there, 2 there, 3 there, 4, 5.
I'm sure we'll track it down, and I'm sure it'll be fine.
6 was in here, the base, wasn't it?
Yes.
So that 7 was in this one here.
Yes. Allow a sensor blue to find Bluetooth.
So the purpose of the data log is threefold. One is to identify if, as a property, you have excess vapour. And the definition of excess vapour is when the internal vapour expresses a dew point is above the outside temperature.
Right.
So that's excess vapour.
Right.
The second thing is to identify high levels of relative humidity. If you're hitting 100%, you're going to get condensation. If you're at long periods of time at 85% or more, you'll have a risk of mould. And actually, there's a type of mould that grows between 80% and 85% called brown mould. Don't worry about it. It's just how mould grows. Everyone has mould to some degree, or at least a lot of people do. And then the third thing is to identify whether there's a source of vapour. And you can tell if there's a source of vapour in a property because you'll have a higher dew point. So dew point is both a measure of the amount of, or it's a measure of the temperature where condensation takes place at, but it's also a measure of the amount of vapour in air. Right. And by comparing dew points, called dew point differential, you can tell whether you're getting vapour in one place compared to another place. And I would expect to see an increase in the amount of vapour down close to what looks like penetrating damp at the base of the wall. And I'll explain that in a second. But it's not a major problem. It's not something that can't be dealt with. And it's not going to. It's unlikely to result in high internal vapour levels.
Right.
So I think they're two separate things. I think you have got excess vapour for the property, and I think part of that is we'll look at the ventilation. But a very simple thing for you guys to do is to run a dehumidifier when you're not here, and have it running into kitchen sink or the bathroom.
Right.
And with the doors open, and have it set to 70%, as I've told you, I leave properties regularly, and I will never leave them without a dehumidifier running.
You say with the door open, I can't have the door
No,
open.
with the internal doors open, kitchen door and bathroom door open, because you want vapour. If there is vapour in one room compared to the other, you want it all to be removed through the dehumidifier.
Okay.
You want a 20 litre plus dehumidifier. I'll send you. I'll put more details in.
And that,
You want to have the dehumidifier. It has a drain on it, so you need to drain it into a sink or into the bathroom, a kitchen sink or bathroom sink or tray. You've got a continuous flow bathroom extractor fan. It sounds like.
yes.
It sounds good, and you've got a kitchen extractor fan, which is good.
When I'm cooking, yeah. I mean, it's not on.
But the problem, and I would probably sit it in the kitchen dehumidifier here.
But that won't affect the laundry cupboard.
No, that's a separate issue. Yeah,
Oh,
and
right.
that's from penetrating damp,
Okay.
and that's because this. So you got render all the way down here, and then suddenly it goes to no render. So what happens is the render's impermeable. It's like a raincoat. It's like, so you can describe a normal brick wall, which this would have been, as being like an overcoat, where it absorbs moisture from raining, but then it evaporates out, and then impermeable. So this
Do we need? It's a case of rendering that.
yeah, that would be a simple solution. This is the stack, isn't it?
Yeah, and that drains. Yeah, they're from the upstairs flats.
And the very fact that you've got plant growth tells me that there is sufficient water to keep a plant alive. I'm going to have a look underneath here to see whether there's anything else. But that in itself, so what will happen with impermeable? It's like a plastic Mac. The water will just run down, and it will run down and run down. And you've got to think of the line of water. It just runs all the way down until it gets to the lovely absorbent brick, where it can't run down anymore, and it's being absorbed. So you're getting a lot of concentration, and particularly at the base of the wall.
I was going to say, because the only place I've noticed the stay is at the base.
But it's here, the base of the wall. And do you see how it's got discoloration? It's got staining.
Oh, those marks on my friend. I said, can you just mark it, and we'll see if it's.
No, but I'm talking about the
staining.
stain, the brown
Is that
stain.
anything to do with also having the hinge there? Does that worsen it?
You could get rust, but I don't think so, because I think that's going to be a sealed unit. And also I should say that
But there's also
I've seen it
on that side as well.
and it may be that it's somehow being absorbed in between here. I don't know. There's a small crack here. Oh, there's a larger crack there. So what you can get. The last property I went to had the same issue. You have rainwater running down here. They had a gutter leak as well. Well, I can't.
I haven't noticed. I mean, we don't keep it maintained.
That doesn't look great. But so what with a crack like that, it's going all the way through the render, and a thin crack can actually draw a lot of moisture through capillary action. And it's drawing in, and I can go to properties where it's raining and you get a lot of water down here, and then suddenly it's dry underneath, and that's because it's all been sucked in through the crack and going down. And it's been damp proofed, but that doesn't make any difference. It doesn't change the.
Yeah.
It's the crack.
Even though where I've noticed, well, I mean, it's always seemed okay up here.
I know, but it will dribble down
Yes.
until it eventually can't go any further, and then it will
sort of
come through.
Okay.
But I'll have more of a look at that.
Okay.
But there are a couple of things I'd say. One is it's not going to affect the internal damp. So this could potentially here, but it doesn't look as likely to cause a problem here. The other thing is the solution is quite easy. So you need to really open it up, fill it with external cork or some sort of sealant, and then paint it over with impermeable paint. This has all been recorded, so the actions will come through. And then with this one, I would ideally it should be rendered all the way down. And again, I'll have a look at the base. Yeah, so you have.
It's like on the other side. Could be something I could see.
It looks a bit more rendered than yours. Although I don't think you're likely to get water through here.
No.
There is a case for putting what are called coping stones on top. So it's basically could be like a tiling or concrete. Yeah, but I doubt much will get through here anyway. It looks like it's been done with the idea of stopping water coming through. This will potentially cause dampness, but I doubt it. I would say it's because of the render above going on to there's another very simple solution that is normally relatively effective, and that's using a chemical. There's a company that specialises in these sort of damp proofing chemicals. I'm not a big fan of that type of damp proofing there, but something called storm dry does reduce the amount of water that is absorbed, and given, I mean, it would be a quick and easy thing. The third thing I was going to say is that, and you may agree or disagree with me on this, but it's because it's not affecting the inside directly. It's an external. It would have been the old.
I don't think it is. I mean, as far as I know, it isn't.
It could be. This is like would have been the old gents' toilet probably, historically.
Maybe yes, I don't know.
Or maybe not, but.
There was a bar. I think there was probably the bathrooms at the back, and the guy I bought it from had converted it or perverted it, as I like to say. So I think there's bathrooms at the back, and I think the flats above have their bathrooms at the back. So
what I would say is, because it's external, it's what would be considered an outbuilding. It shouldn't flag up as an area of major concern if and when you come to sell the property.
Even though this is part of the main body of the house. So
I know, but yeah. But we'll have a look at it again, and you can mitigate it.
Yeah.
But there's always going to be some degree of vulnerability there. But particularly as you've got the soil pipe, so you can't really get in here very easily all the way down. And I wouldn't advocate removing the soil pipe for the sake of that. But I'm going to have a look down at the base now. Right. So this is a radio wave damp meter, and it says, I mean, it's marginal at the base of the wall. I'm going to. The good thing with this is that it can go through building material.
Oh, that's what I was thinking, that you wouldn't be able to.
Well, I get why people like decking. It can hide a multitude of sins, and it reduces the airflow for subfloor ventilation. But I'm not going to worry about that element. But it would be good to know if it's draining effectively here. Although, again, I would say that is not the root cause of the damp. The root cause of the damp is this one, and then the brick wall there. Okay. This one also needs to be looked at. But ideally, you have a fillet of cement that runs between here and there, but it doesn't actually look damaged. I would also I don't think much water is going to come through here, but you know, theoretically water can run in underneath, but I wouldn't worry about that.
Okay.
But what you don't want, I'm going to see if I can find a drain, but what I would recommend is you keep one of these open and have a look after a rainstorm to see whether water is collecting underneath and pooling, because if it is, then you might have to consider cutting a channel to move the water to the drain, or what's called an echo drain, which is a drain system for water.
Okay, that's a good point. Of course, it hasn't been raining. There's a kind of weird open pipe under here somewhere that I
Was that? Oh, let's have a look. Delightful.
Yes.
That is unusual, I have to say.
Yes, we're not sure. I mean, it's never caused
Well,
any problem. It just, you know.
It doesn't smell.
It doesn't smell. I don't know. So I don't know what's.
Well, I suppose the good thing is that.
I don't know where that pipe comes from, and I don't know.
Well, I think that's your pipe, isn't
Right.
it?
Okay. Yeah, I'll try not to think about it. But if we only discovered it when we lifted up.
Well, from a damp point of view, it's a good thing because it means that the water isn't going to
So that means
collect.
I
It's
think
going to
that's
drain away.
presumably from there. I mean, it's a bit weird having a slab coming in from the house.
It's an open drain, but it's flowing and it's looking good.
And there is also.
This is
Alright.
just to know. So you've got painted bricks here, and with painted bricks, this is just to tell you, but I don't think it's causing internal dampness.
No.
I'm just telling you what the risk is with painted bricks. So you see how that's brown. That will be brown because water has got in behind the brick, and it's coming out. Now, hopefully, it's not going all the way through. You've got a standard brick wall is made from two bricks, and then often you'll have bricks across. It's called Flemish bond, and so what could happen is the external wall section of the wall, brick of the wall, can get damp, and then it causes heat loss because a damp brick is a poor insulator, and it causes heat loss, which increases the risk of condensation. But I'm just explaining that because I can see it here. You can also get calcium sulfate salts blistering behind the paint, and they can cause micro cracking. So this type of paint is probably semi-permeable. That means it allows some water through, but also some water out. And what can happen is the blistering allows the water to come through. I'm not seeing examples of it, but it doesn't.
Is this a repaint job then?
Oh, well, I think you do. The recommendation is every 7 years.
Right.
But I'm not. I mean, so areas like that are vulnerable. I'm not particularly seeing the blistering. That's vulnerable. But it will become vulnerable every so often. And it's just your flat, so it's harder to claim it's a whole property. Oh look, that's the air brick, and
Yes.
I don't think it's going to happen in this case, but there's a risk of water splashing in, but I don't think that's...
No.
Oh, the other thing I was going to tell you about is you can get, so during a heavy rainstorm, you can get rainwater splashing from the decking onto the wall, or for any surface onto the wall, and it increases the amount of water on the wall, but I doubt that's causing an issue here. So again, I don't think there's anything to do about it, but just be aware. And what you want to do is you want to and have it properly painted so that there are no gaps and cracks.
Okay.
And use the same paint that you did. I mean, ideally when it was first painted, but is it before your time? Down here, we're seeing some issues with the paint. Do you see how this is blistering here? That'll be calcium sulfate salts.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't worry too much about it, but in time, don't leave it too late. You want to have this wire brush as far back to brick as possible and then repainted, just because you can get little cracks, micro cracks caused by the calcium sulfate salts that blistering. Calcium sulfate comes from the.
And you're going to recommend what
building.
sort of stuff to put on?
I would stick to whatever you had in the first place.
Which I don't know.
I would imagine that most people use. Well, so the theory is you want to be as permeable as permeable as possible, but impermeable, more the same permeability as the layer behind it, or more impermeable if you don't know. So it's a long way of saying that I would probably go with, most people use I think it's called this might have got the brand name wrong, but Weather Shield or something like that.
Okay. But a reputable person would know.
Yeah.
Would know what to do then. Okay.
But there's no signs that's causing internal damp, so in a sense, don't worry about it. So I'm just putting the damp meter inside. I'm liable to. Oh yeah, it's hitting 100%. It's 100%. And the dampness is really starting there, but it's coming from there, rainwater. And then on this side. Yeah, so it's down there. So just to explain, there is also a risk of dampness forming on here. You've got ventilation?
The tumble dryer is ventilated out. But
Through the top. But I don't know this particular brand of. Oh, is this the tumble dryer? Oh no, this is the tumble dryer. I haven't met.
That's vented out.
Yes, which is great.
Yes.
But they do have a habit of generating vapour, and between the two of them, and it's unheated. But the data loggers will show us that. Have you used the tumble dryer and or washing machine?
I've been back, no.
Not since the data loggers have gone up.
No.
But once you on the data loggers, I'll show you this later on. But I put it onto a website that I created that anyone can use, and you'll be able to see whether you've got increase in vapour.
Yeah.
And
when I use them, I try and keep the door open.
But you've got liability condensation forming at the base of the wall and drawing up through capillary action. That's not rising damp, that's condensation. But I'm not saying it is happening, but there's a risk. There's I mean, it's unheated. That's part of the risk. But I wouldn't worry about it. It's. Well, compared to most of the properties I see, it's nothing really. But
would you recommend putting louvered vents in the door?
No, I wouldn't do, because they're a double-edged sword. You get lots of heat loss as well as. No, I wouldn't do. I would. So
we're sorting the crack. We're sorting the rendering and seeing if that helps.
You could. Another simple trick is to put in a absorption reducing chemical called siloxane and dry zone.
Your video. Do I need to write this
siloxane. Safeguard make it, and with the brand dry zone.
What, and you're painting that over the...
No, what you do is you run a bead of it, but I don't think I would do in this case. I think it's overkill for the amount of dampness. I would say that once you do the other things, that will solve most of the damp anyway. Data loggers
the crack and sorting the rendering.
Yeah, the data loggers will tell us additional things. Numbers, and that synchronizes it. It can take a minute per week of data. So given that you've got 6, it can take a bit of time. So that's why I'm going to show you, and I'm going to show you sending it to me, and then I'd like you to send me all of them now, and I'll use them in the first instance, and then after that I encourage you to use the website yourself to help go forward from there. But I'll talk it through on the first instance. Even though it's AI, it needs a lot more work doing to it. It's very beta phase.
Okay.
And in terms of the data, it's good. In terms of the analysis of the data, it just needs a lot more. It needs a lot more time.
But you've designed this yourself.
Yeah.
Clever.
It's all
so
AI.
you're a computer whiz then, and you're.
No, I'm roughly on my 10th career. I was an accountant originally. Yeah, I got better.
Yeah, I should have moved on and shifted. I got stuck.
Did you? It's easy to do.
Yeah, I need the job. I've got to pay the mortgage.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're doing God's work now, helping us all. I mean, this isn't the worst you've seen, is it?
It's probably one of the least bad that I've seen. I tend to see probably the worst of them, because we tend to be pretty booked up and hard to. So I tend to see the worst. Summertime, there's less competition because a lot of the issues are rainwater and condensation.
Yes, it's a question of being here when it's raining.
Well, but I mean, I've dealt with that element. It's just actually seeing the rain is. So just do accidentally.
Did you get onto the website, by the way? Onto my Wi-Fi, by the way. Did you get?
I don't need it.
Okay. Right.
If you press the calculator sign, sorry, I'll get used to do that.
Right.
The calculator sign, top right.
Right. So that syncs, and then press calculator sign.
Yeah. And then export sign. So that's all the data which has been adjusted for the calibration.
On each day, sort of thing. Oh, every 10
each
minutes.
Hour,
every 10 minutes.
And
then export button.
Yeah. And then export CSV.
Export CSV, and that's the green.
And then send it to myself, simon@dampsurveys.com. So back, and then you'll know that you've done it because it will show the readout, and that means. And do you see that says NA?
NA, yeah.
That's because it's updated the data logger.
Readout with a time.
So if you
right.
press
So
that,
so I could just press
again,
either number,
one,
yeah.
Yeah, and do it in order.
So what do these numbers mean?
Oh, I'll tell you. So dew point is the amount of vapour in air.
Right.
It's also the temperature
Is
where
that
condensation
bad?
takes place.
Right.
Well, in summertime, when the window's open, you're not really going to see any. It'd be the same as the outside.
That's vapour.
But you want to keep that below the outside temperature at all times, and you do that with ventilation. So, ventilation, the outside dew point will never be above the outside temperature. Otherwise, it would rain. And in fact, rain is condensation, and the dew point. When it's raining, will be the same as the outside temperature.
Okay.
So in a well-ventilated property, you'll never have the internal dew point above the outside temperature.
And I don't know, do I?
But you don't air because you're away for a lot of the time, and the way around it is by using a dehumidifier because it's extracting the.
So you think there might be damp in here as well?
I would be surprised if you don't have it, but the issue is the outside.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
the primary concern, and there is some high damp meter readings at the base of the wall. So I would say that you have got some, but nothing to worry about. But it will also reduce your energy consumption. It will reduce your carbon footprint by using a dehumidifier because it's much cheaper than heating and much better for the environment.
Would you only have it? Wait, it's got to drain into.
You'd have it sitting here. If it were me, I would sit it here, draining into the sink. I would get one that was actually slightly smaller than this, measure this height, and then get one that's slightly smaller so you can sit in
on the counter
underneath,
draining into the sink.
Ideally 20 litre plus dehumidifier. 20 litre per day. It's not capacity, it was extraction rate rather than.
And it runs on electricity, and then would we have it only running when we weren't here?
You'd have, or both. Measure internal vapour levels to see whether you need it. But I doubt you need it when you're not here. But when you, when you are here. But when you're not here, you want to just bring.
And that will help the whole house, will it?
Yeah.
Obviously, I can only have it in here.
By having the doors open.
And so the bathroom, that fan is always on.
Yeah. That's a continuous flow bathroom extractor fan.
Yes.
I'll measure that actually. So it's blowing air out at a okay rate. But your bathroom extractor fan is going through air brick and it's got porcelain, and you have a huge reduction in the efficiency of bathroom extractors when they go through that type of air brick.
Right.
Don't worry about it because it's continuous flow.
Right.
Though one, use the kitchen extractor fan when cooking or cook with tops on pots and pans, which when you're chatting to people it can be annoying.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I tried to sort of get as quiet as I could, but show me this porcelain thing.
Yeah, so
I'm trying to kill bamboo with boiling water or something. Right.
the rhizomes underground. So do you see? So you get a huge loss of airflow because you've got all the porcelain here.
Oh, I see.
So you're actually only getting about a third of the airflow, but because it's continuous flow, it makes up for it. But just keep the door closed on that bathroom.
Keep the door closed on.
Yeah, because you want the vapour to go out. So with the bathroom, keep the door closed.
Right.
Kitchen, keep the door open when you're using the dehumidifier.
Right.
I see.
I do recognise that.
Jane worked at Mill. I mean, is it a bit? Well, she has. Yeah, she worked at Millback a bit, not much. She did a lot of different things.
Right, this is the food bin normally.
So what I'm doing is I'm recording the temperature of different areas
Okay.
to get the surface relative humidity. I'll go outside. This time of year you can't tell a lot from it, but you can see there's heat loss there. You get heat loss where it's damp. So I'm in the cellar now, and your cold water pipes, you've got ventilation there, but I suspect you'll get water through. Anyway, just as a general note, I don't think there are major issues in the cellar. So you do want to have some ventilation. You've got dampness at the base of the wall. It's been tanked. Ideally it shouldn't be tanked, but anyway, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Yeah, it looks okay. No problems. Yeah. So that would be condensation you're getting there. I'll have a look at the front as well. They're not there. So you've got paint work here. You've got some damp issues there. It's been damp proofed. You've got crack. You've got a bit of a crack going on there. Keep a bit of an eye on that. Obviously the pointing is going a bit there. I wouldn't worry too much about the pointing, but this is gloss paint and water can get in through here. You get a bit of heat loss here, which increases the risk of condensation. So I don't think it's penetrating through, but I think you've got condensation from heat loss at the base of the wall. Yep. The area of concern is outside in the outbuilding, which I don't think would be picked up as a primary concern to a surveyor, or at least it shouldn't be to if you are selling the property, but it's penetrating damp, possibly with some condensation from leaking vapour from the units, the utility, the dryer and washer. But you've got render on the outside that won't absorb moisture, water, rainwater, won't distribute it evenly, and water will go through the brick underneath it. So you can use storm dry, which is a chemical to reduce the risk of that, and or use a render all the way down the base of the wall. You also have to be aware of the outside, the other section of wall and also aware of anything coming through from your neighbour's side. So they may have the same issue, and unless they're solved, it will continue to come through. But you've also got it on this side, and that will be from a render crack that you have there. Again, the same principles apply. A lot of water through render will absorb it. Now, there's a small amount of high damp meter reading around the base of the wall, and I suspect it's not 100%. It's like 70%, something like that. You'll see. I suspect that's from condensation. You have a vulnerability to condensation because you're not here a lot of the time. So what tends to happen is people will have, cook a breakfast or have coffees, have a shower, maybe dry their clothes the day before, and although that's the other side of the wall, so it's not in your. But then close up, and there's no ventilation other than the bathroom continuous flow fan, which is great, but it is vulnerable, and the way to mitigate that is through the dehumidifier. And I'd always encourage you to have one. Everyone should have a dehumidifier, in my opinion. You have got some dampness in your front living room, and you've got paint on the outside with gaps in it, and I don't think it's penetrating the whole way through because you're not seeing the brown staining, but I think what you're getting is some heat loss, which increases the risk of condensation.
So where is the damp?
In the corner, if you're looking from the inside, it's the left-hand corner. Obviously, if you're looking at the outside, it's the right-hand corner, close to where the door is.
Yeah.
And you can see that the paintwork is damaged on the outside.
Okay.
First update, with the data you sent, I'll explain what I'm seeing, and then you can upload it yourself.
Obviously, I have to be here to do that.
Yes, but that's okay. So.
Which I won't always be.
But every few months would be fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. So